And you bring me to the second question that I had when you were talking about contrast, because to your point, when contrast causes you to want what you would want, there's a lot of contrast and I'm getting a lot of wants. And on some topics in my life, I'm hitting a point where I'm no longer interested in contrast helping me to want what I want.
Then you didn't hear anything we just said.
Well, I would say
and
maybe...
we were yelling. And we were tuned in to infinite intelligence, and we can't speak it any clearer than that. You've got to adapt.
Okay.
The universe is not going to change for you.
Okay.
You are not going to be able to say, I don't want contrast anymore. But what you could do yourself a big favor and love the contrast.
Okay. All right. So let's...
Oh, that was too easy.
No.
You could love the contrast. Do you know that when you really, 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 really don't want something, you really, 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 really do want something?
Okay. So on that topic, to be pragmatic about it so that you don't get sloppy with your emotions, like you say, when we go through contrast, it's good.
Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
Say more and then we'll get you. What does being pragmatic about something mean?
I think it means being deliberate in your focus of how to resolve an understanding of an experience and being sure about what you want to do as your next logical step. For me, that's what I feel like it means, and I guess that's how I mean it.
That's all good. That's good. That's
Does
really
that work?
good.
Okay. So going back to what we were talking about, contrast, I want to get to a pragmatic place with experiencing contrast and immediately getting from, I guess, the step one emotion to starting down that walk to elevate to the higher vibrational set point.
All of that sounds good, but just take it bit by bit. In other words, really, if you will do your best to feel as good as you can feel in any point in time, it will just get better and better and better. What you just said to us is, Abraham, I sort of well, you didn't say this, but we're saying it to you. And then we'll tell you when you started saying something to us. So what we're saying to you is, so you're in this vehicle and then you look over there and there's another one. So you get into it and you go for a ways, and then you look over and there's another one. You get in and you go for a ways. Then there's another one. And what you're saying to us is, okay, I get that there's going to be a few, but I want to just jump over into this one and go. And we say, well, we get why you would want to do that, but that's not how it works. You can't be a different vibration than you are. You can't be a big vibrational jump, but you can be a segment intending vibrational jump. The truly practical approach is by acknowledging that you're not ever going to get it done, so there is no ending place to be. You know what the most pragmatic thing is that we want you to acknowledge is that you're not going to get it done, and it all has the potential of being fun. The way you're describing it, or the way you're asking about it, it would be like getting into a vehicle and you're going to take a road trip. Let's say that it's a 1,000-mile road trip, and you have some ideas of what you're going to do when you really get to your destination, because there are people that you care about that are going to be there and meet you. But the whole time you're making that journey, which is a 2-day at least journey, you are not having a good time because you're not where you want to go. You want to just transport yourself and be there because you want to get to where you want to go, and you're not having any of the journey to get there. And what we want you to acknowledge is that there is a journey, and it has the potential of being as good as you'll let it be. And just because it's not all the way to where you want to be doesn't mean that there aren't things that you will enjoy about it. But there are certainly not going to be any enjoyment on that 1,000-mile journey unless you decide to look for enjoyable things about it. That's the very best thing that you can do for yourself. Decide that you're going to enjoy where you are on your way to where you'd rather be. But what you're saying to us is, I don't really want to enjoy myself on my way to where I'd rather be. I'd just rather be where I'd rather be.
Well, is there a way to enjoy the contrast a little bit better?
That's what we just said to you.
All right, so...
But you just have to look for it. You have to segment intend. You have to be new in the moment. If you go on that 1,000-mile journey and you've been on that 1,000-mile journey and you know there's not much to see and you know there's not very many good restaurants along the way and you didn't have a good experience and somebody picked your pocket at that rest stop or whatever, so you're taking the same old you with the same attitude as the last journey, then it's going to be a miserable 1,000-mile journey, just like that's always a miserable 1,000-mile journey. And when you get to the end of the miserable 1,000-mile journey, it's not going to be all that much fun meeting up with your friends because you're not vibrationally really up to speed with them. They're not going to be able to magically transform you into a different person. But if you've stepped into that journey with new segment intending, if you're new on this journey instead of old on this journey, if you've got a new vibrational intentionality on this journey rather than the old stuff, now you're going to rendezvous with a sunrise like you've never seen before. You're going to rendezvous with maybe someone at the rest stop or someone in the restaurant who's going to really activate something within you. You're going to rendezvous with the blossoming of cactuses out in the desert, and you're going to stop and see something beautiful that you've not seen before. Somebody's going to have their little dog get loose off the leash, and the little dog is going to come over and play with you a little bit. All kinds of things can happen on this new 1,000-mile journey that you've made many, many times before because you're new in the journey, because you've segment intended. And every time you segment intend, then your expectation of the newness is there. And when your expectation of newness is there, then you've unleashed the magic, because the universe knows everything that you've ever wanted and everything that you've ever intended. And your inner being knows you don't have to be 1,000 miles down the road before the magic starts. The magic can start the minute that you're awake and alive in your body. There are wonderful things that can manifest in your experience everywhere, except for the expectation that you hold that there's no magic for this 1,000 miles. The magic won't start until I get over there. Follow that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your relationship with wonderful things happening doesn't have anything to do with anybody else who is there or any place that you stand on the planet. It has only to do with your relationship and the things that you've asked for that are in your vortex. Because your inner being can give you everything that you want in your vortex right now, no matter where you are or no matter who you're with, if you would let it be. If you would let it be. But you don't expect to let it be while you're on the sucky 1,000-mile desert drive out there. There's nothing good here. Yes, there is. There's the potential for everything good here, wherever you are. You just got to trust the process. Because thoughts turn into things, you may not realize the control of the timing that you have of the thoughts turning to things. You don't expect any thoughts to turn to good things until you get the 1,000 miles down the road to where your friends and your party is going to start. But your inner being is starting the party now. Your inner being has all the pieces for the party all lined up everywhere that you are. Everywhere that you are, the party can be. The magic can be everywhere that you are. You just got to tune into it and then follow your impulses. Sometimes the party's in your own mind. Sometimes the party's in what you're receiving from source. Often the party is in the rendezvousing with others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you jump me so far ahead, I can't feel quite what I'm feeling to ask you.
We didn't jump ahead. We went to where you want to be. You just lagged behind. That's all right. That's all right.
It's okay.
That's all right, because every time you segment intend, you lag behind a little less. Every time you segment intend, you lag behind a little less. Every time you segment intend, you lag behind a little less. Until you begin to feel confidence in your segment intending. And then you get moving through life expecting magic to be. It's not magic, but people that don't know how to do this feel like it's magic. Everywhere you go, good things happen. Everything wonderful is happening to you, for you, because of you, about you. Most of you don't realize how much wonderful stuff you've projected into your vortex because you didn't see the wonderful end of the stick. You only saw the not wonderful end of the stick. And you didn't realize that when you picked up the stick and you amplified the not wonderful, that the wonderful went in your vortex. And since you haven't been segment intending, you're nowhere near the vibrational frequency of the wonderful. If you keep looking back and keep the other end of the stick most active within you, then you don't get that. But if you're segment intending, then the wonderful end of the stick becomes more familiar until pretty soon you begin to feel invincible. And you begin to speak like that. Others say, why do so many good things happen to you? And you say, don't they happen to everybody? I'm not sure when I made that switch. I think it was when I stopped talking so much about where I'd been or even where I am, and I started anticipating, just a little more anticipation of what's coming. I got my bearings and I started accepting my relationship with my inner being, and it started with me not needing to forgive myself. It started with me accepting that I'm a really good person who gets really good things. And so from that new vantage point that I'm not sure how I found it, I think I found it because I couldn't stand the other, I started saying, all right, universe, this is a new segment, and in it, I want to have a good time. I want to feel good. I want to feel good in my body, and I want to be alert, and I want to see things that I might not have seen if I weren't so alert. And I want to see through your eyes. Just start segment intending and watch what happens. And as you practice it, you will own it. You will come to expect it. And then everywhere you go, you just expect it. And others who don't understand it will say, well, that just happens to you because you're rich. That just happens to you because you have a lot of money. Or that happens to you because you have a staff that's out ahead of you and they're making things happen. Well, that just happens to you because you were born under the right star. Or that just happens to you because you're karmically in the place where it's time for you to receive. They make so much stuff up about why the magic is working in your life because it's not working in their life. And so they're trying to imagine why it's working in your life. And if you want to explain it to them, you could explain it in these simple terms. I was born into contrast that is good. And out of the contrast, I set all kinds of things into motion. And then one day, I just started looking in the direction of all the good things that I'd set into motion. And I started finding more and more and more of them until I just got the hang of that. And now, frankly, I just expect things to go my way. And I've reverted to something that I said when I was little. When people would say, why do you think you should have that? And you said, because.
You used to say that.
Because. You think everything's just supposed to work out for you? Yes. I really do.
Yeah. It's funny you picked up on that because I used to. I would roam around my neighborhood with my friends and my family when I was younger, and I'd say, I want that to just appear. And over time, well, that's old news now. So going back to segment intending.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you.
I'm almost catching it.
Well, that's just the way. It's all right to acknowledge it just in order to savor it. A more satisfying meal comes from just a little hunger. So you got a little hungry just then, and then you savored, and then...
Okay, now we're on to the next thing, which is, I guess, to that example, I want to make sure that, maybe not make sure, but in segment intending...
That was good, too. You don't need to jump all the way to certainty. You just need to slightly speculate, because the universe will shore up your slightest speculation about good things until you are sure.
All right, nice. Okay.
We like how you hear everything we say.
Thank you.
We like that a lot.
So, yeah, that feels pretty good.
Yeah.